Welcome back. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. You're joining us on NewsX. Our big focus this hour, the probe into the alleged conversion racket and sexual harassment case at TCS Nashik has revealed a wide network with possible international links. The case came to light after a tip-off in February prompted a covert police operation during which women constables were deployed undercover as housekeeping staff. WhatsApp chats, victim statements and a suspected Malaysia-linked preacher indicates the presence of a wider network functioning within the office. A key figure that has emerged in the probe is HR manager Nida Khan, who has been accused of allegedly ignoring and possibly enabling a sustained pattern of sexual harassment and coercion against women employees at the facility. Currently absconding, Nida is believed to have left the TCS Nashik facility, where she worked in January 2026. Her last known location is believed to be Pune, where she is believed to have family ties. Nida's LinkedIn also revealed that she was an alumnus of the Savitribai Phule Pune University. The SIT team is primarily looking for evidence in these two locations, attempting to trace Nida's whereabouts. According to some reports, Nida's in-laws reportedly reside in Bundi in Rajasthan, with police also probing the same. The SIT team led by ACP Sandeep Mitke is handling the search, with multiple dedicated teams having been formed and deployed to hunt for the absconding. Raids and physical searches are also being conducted at known addresses and locations in Pune and Nashik. Police are tracking Nida's previous movements and contacts between Pune and Nashik. Digital records are also being seized and searched as police issue nationwide appeal with Nida's photograph in an attempt to trace Nida Khan. Well, police have deployed women constables as well inside the TCS Nashik campus in disguise. Their findings have helped verify the allegations made by victims. A man identified as Imran, believed to have links with Malaysia, has also appeared in WhatsApp conversations. He is suspected to be a preacher introduced through video calls where he spoke about opportunities abroad, including high-paying jobs and a better lifestyle. His identity and involvement are still under investigation. Let's in fact take you through what exactly are these Malaysia links that are under investigation. Quickly take you through, of course, those details which are emerging with regards to this Malaysia link now, which is coming to the fore. So, of course, the group reportedly had introduced the selected women to a Malaysia-based contact via video calls or WhatsApp. That's, of course, what the modus operandi was. The contact promoted the idea, of course, of moving to Malaysia for high-paying jobs and a better lifestyle. Meanwhile, some women allegedly handed over original documents, believing they would be placed in jobs in Malaysia as well. Police suspect this was part of a larger network to lure women abroad, possibly linked to conversion and also linked to exploitation. Now, who is the Malaysia preacher? Well, Imran is the man identified in WhatsApp conversations and video calls by the accused. He is the one who reportedly was the preacher. He is described as a Malaysia-linked preacher. And in fact, according to victim statements and police sources, he was introduced to targeted employees via video conferencing. Meanwhile, during these calls, he reportedly spoke about women who had already gone to Malaysia, secured good jobs, and were living there comfortably. Also, his exact identity, full background, and precise role are still being verified by the Nashik SIT as we speak. Some reports suggest he motivated women by saying things like their families don't truly care and they should focus on a better future abroad. Those, of course, are some details emerging with regards to this Malaysian link now, which has emerged. It is being investigated as well by the authorities now. Joining us live to discuss this story in further detail is Rekha Shukla, Chairperson, LCDM Central Child Welfare Committee member. Prem Krishan Jain, former ADGP Maharashtra, is also joining us live. Geeta Panda, Chief Operating Officer at Carsoon India Solution, is also with us on the broadcast. Let me make a start with you first, Rekha Shukla, on what you make of this Malaysia link emerging and the modus operandi really being used for exploitation and luring of these girls.
Thank you, Uday, for having me on this heated debate. Look, if the Malaysian link has been established, then the investigation and the probe is now going to have a very wide section. and we are not now looking for the Indian sections. We are now have to have a Malaysian plus Indian laws to be there. As far as Nida Khan is concerned, or our Indian law is concerned, she is to be definitely booked under Section 202 of BNS, like intentional omission of these given information when she has the knowledge of criminal offense has occurred within her within that premises, or any intentional fails to inform the authority. This is what she has done. She has not informed her senior or superiors for any kind of action. And then allegation of sexual assault and rape is also there on the pretext of marriage, right? And here we have to see if there is any possibility of trafficking. So I believe if the Malaysian link is there, we or the police have to widen their investigation to check out the trafficking angle also, other than other sections or other things, other allegations.
Yes, let me in fact also quickly get in Prem Krishan Jain, who's also with us now. Prem Krishan Jain, let me quickly draw you in here now on, of course, the priorities now. What should the priorities of the investigators and the authorities be with these new facts now emerging in this case? Mr. Jain, can you hear me? Okay, I think we've lost that connection. But Geeta Panda is also with us now, Chief Operating Officer at Carson India Solution, as I introduced earlier. You know, this is really a very disturbing case. And the worry is if this bust just shows us what might be happening in other parts of the country, in other companies, and through other such, fake and dubious HR managers. What is your inference of what really was happening here, what the modus operandi was, and what you believe now the authorities should be focusing on?
Yeah, see, thank you for passing that question. First of all, I want to express deep amount of concern and empathy for those that are impacted. And to my knowledge, I've been part of several harassment committees and, in women empowerment committees and so on and so forth. One of the things that came to my mind immediately was that when concerns of this nature surface only after external intervention, it cannot be an isolated issue. It cannot be a TCS issue. It cannot be an isolated bunch of 10 or 12 people getting impacted. It's not possible, right? And repeated unaddressed complaints are talking about psychological safety, about the emotional well-being of individuals. And, in these circumstances, typically, silence in an organization is certainly not golden, right? We need people to come and speak up. There has to be an open forum. There has to be the glass ceilings, and all of that has to be shattered. People should have an open environment to come and talk about what they feel is working well and what is not working. The saddest part is a large corporation, which is very renowned for its ethics and integrity and people focus, is today in question, right? So, apart from looking at only this as a isolated case, I think I would urge all leaders, all employers to kind of take a deeper look at your organizational culture. It cannot be handed over to a HR or to a particular organization and believed that your vision and mission and your posh policies will all be advocated and will be adhered to. It's not possible, right? It has to be held at the topmost level and percolated down through across the organization. And that's so paramount, that's so important. It's an early warning for all of us to go deeper into our organizations, talk to our employees, get more inputs on what's going on, and make it a best workplace for people to work. While we are all heavily focused in getting more business, we are all worried about the AI disruption that's going on. This is indeed the top priority for all of us now.
Yes, in fact, the testimonies Now, if we are turning our focus to more developments as well coming in, the testimonies of victims in the TCS Nashik case also have been startling. Out of the 9 victims, many have alleged that they were manipulated into following Islamic practices and were abused and harassed inside office premises. Victims have alleged that they were systematically targeted, abused and manipulated with the end goal of converting them to Islam. What initially appeared as an isolated complaint soon expanded into a series of legal actions, with as many as 9 FIRs being registered between March 26th and April 3rd. So far, the Maharashtra police have arrested several accused individuals identified as Danish Sheikh, Tausif Attar, Raza Memon, Shahrukh Qureshi, Asif Ansari, Shafi Sheikh and Ashwini Chanani. Officials have indicated that the matter is not being treated as an isolated incident, but rather as a potentially organized pattern of misconduct that unfolded over a period of time. Let me quickly go back to Rekha Shukla now. Rekha Shukla, these testimonies are really chilling, aren't they?
Now, just a moment.
Rekha Shukla, the testimonies. What do you make of the testimonies, the victims' versions that are coming forth?
And I must say, Uday, if the testimonies they are recording, first of all, police has done this investigation in a very systematic manner, because they have this covert operation. They have run a covert operation, and I'm sure they have built a very airtight case against all the accused. And now, since the testimonies are coming in, to be very frank, I don't know how many females will come forward, because of course, if you are naming the alleged accused, there are so many in numbers. This is really very disturbing. That huge number of people, not one, not two, at least 6, 7, 8, 9 people were involved in this, I will say, organized crime is going on within that office premises. So if the people, if the female or the other office persons are coming forward, I salute to them, because it's not easy to give any kind of testimony against senior persons. This needs a lot of courage. This needs a lot of inspiration from others also. So if the testimonies are there, I'm sure our police will have a very good and very tight case against all the accused, whether the responsibility, whether they have to book the accused individually, or it's a collective responsibility also. Like collectively, they have ignored 78 emails. Collectively, they have ignored, or the HR person, Nida, who is on the committee itself, internal committee itself, she has violated all the compliance issues. She has violated every posh law compliances, and now she has to, she and every other senior person has to be booked very seriously. And I hope a lot of people will come forward and will tell what exactly happened there, how they have gone through. 4 years is not a less time, Uday. It's a long period they have been into that system, and they have been facing such kind of a sexual harassment, conversion, or the intimidation, coercion, threatening, whatever is going on. Because females want to have that job. I don't know what exactly is their family position. If a person has got a job in TCS, she wants to have that job. And this is the basic, I think, basic weakness these culprits have, they have taken that yes, she needs job, and they can exploit all those females accordingly. So I believe they will be booked under pretty good and serious sections, not to be let off easily.
Yes, let me in fact quickly also now draw in Prem Krishan Jain, I believe, who has finally joined the broadcast. Prem Krishan Jain, I was trying to bring you in earlier as well on what the priorities of the investigators should be. These testimonies, these facts emerging so far do expose a lot about what the modus operandi was, and also this Malaysia link coming to the fore. What needs to be the priority of the investigators, and what do you make about what really was happening there in Nashik?
Thank you very much, Uday. I am online now. See, what has happened in this case is that FIRs have already been registered. The police has already requested any other affected females also to come forward and lodge complaints. And if that happens, further offenses will be registered. The offenses predominantly are under section 69, 75, 76, 79, 299, 302 of the BNS. Unfortunately, the government of Maharashtra had also enacted an ordinance, which is the Freedom of Religion Act in March 2026, the sections of which could not be applied, which is a much more stringent and pinpointed, focused law, which is which deals with all such problems. I think the future offenses may be having the sections of that particular ordinance. Now, what has happened in this case is that the harassment, the exploitation has gone on for a very, very long period. My co-panelists have already dwelled on it. It has gone on for a very, very long period. That speaks of the systemic failure of the company also. It cannot happen that one HR person can only sit on the complaints. I'm told that in at least one case, the complaint was escalated to the higher-ups also, but there also no proper attention was paid to that complaint. And that is how the harassment continued, because the victims thought that instead of losing their job, they might as well start making compromises. And whenever somebody was not making compromises, they were given additional work, which they probably could not deal with, and then their jobs would come into jeopardy. So that is how the entire thing, as far as the investigation is concerned, it is on the right track. There are only one accused of the named accused is now absconding. She also will be sooner or later caught. And this new angle, which you said is emerging from Malaysia. Well, what is appalling in this case is that educated people who are the team leaders in a very reputed organization have gone about in a systematic manner of converting, influencing, exploiting vulnerable sections of the organization. That is the women and only probably one male. And that people who were vegetarian, they were made to eat non-vegetarian, they were made to pray in a particular manner. The family members noticed the change in their behavior and their leanings. And that is how the case probably came to the police, and they made a proper investigation. The case predominantly rests on the statements of witnesses and victims. So therefore, the statements have to be ironclad. They have to be very carefully recorded. Yes. And in certain cases, even 164 statements must be recorded before the magistrate, so that there's no chance of those people turning hostile in subsequent investigation and when it is presented in the court. So I think the police is on the right track. I'm sure the the outcome will be very, very positive.
Okay. Let me, in fact, quickly address some more angles emerging on this big story. Tata Consultancy Services has also been questioned for the institutional failure that led to the abuse and coercion continuing for so long with no internal redressal for victims. Firstly, the biggest corporate governance lapse is being touted as the human resources team, ignoring repeated complaints by employees. Secondly, the failure of implementing the Prevention of Sexual Harassment or POSH Act effectively in the workplace. Thirdly, TCS Internal Complaints Committee remained ineffective with no action being taken against the senior management accused in the case. Fourthly, there was no timely action on harassment reports by multiple employees, both men and women. Moreover, weak oversight allowed grooming and non-implementation of protective mechanisms to go on unchecked for years. Lastly, despite repeated complaints raised by employees, the matter was not escalated to senior management, allowing suppression and continued exploitation as well. Let me take that to you, Geeta Panda. Now, the victims' testimonies, of course, do expose everything. But how much to blame was the management as well? You yourself are a CEO. You know how entities operate, how companies function. What were the lapses that have emerged in TCS?
Told earlier, I think it's not an isolated case. It's going to come out to be much bigger and larger and widespread beyond TCS is my own guess, because I've sat in all these harassment committees, and when an external agency has to come and tell you that your organizational policies, your standards of business conduct, your voice of the workforce data, everything is inaccurate, and there is something so serious and severe happening within an organization for so long, it cannot be restrictive. It's a cultural breakdown. It's a breakdown of psychological safety, emotional safety, and well-being of the employees. So I think it's the onus and the responsibility of the top leaders to drive policies and advocacies. It cannot be handed over to a team leader. It cannot be handed over to an individual or a work group like a human resource. It has to be organization-wide. The leaders have to take complete ownership of ensuring and institutionalizing policies if they have to be practiced, and it has to be walked the talk all the times, all the time. And every single complaint at any point in time has to be addressed with utmost urgency. And I think it's failed all throughout. And if it's lasted for so long, I mean, it's a pity that none of these policies, none of these procedures have worked.
What accountability?
And,
What accountability, Mr. Jain? What accountability, Mr. Jain, should the company also face at this juncture?
In my opinion, whichever level the complaint was escalated to, see, as I said, it's a systemic failure within the organization. Whatever level the complaint was escalated to and no action was taken, those particular levels should be made accused in this case, because they are absolutely complicit in this harassment over such a long period of time. You know, you cannot hold everybody up the line responsible and accountable for this kind of a lapse. But it was escalated. The entire system of HR and POSH and ICC has collapsed in an organization like this. In fact, there should be a free flow of information of any grievances from the employees to the top management. There should be a dedicated, helpline. There could be a dedicated email where the complaints could be lodged so that they reach the powers that be. But in this case, apparently it went up to the local HR assistant manager. Then it went to another person. So Nida Khan and Chenani were the two persons who were at the local level. And it should have, as I said, in one case, it was escalated to a higher level also, but even then there was no action taken. So apparently that level is also complicit. I think apart from the internal administrative action, the legal action also reaches there. So it is for the local police or the investigating officer to find out as to where the complicity stops or up to which level the complicity can be taken. Uday.
Okay, let me leave a quick last word before we wrap up to you on the way forward, Rekha Shukla.
You were asking about the accountability.
Yes,
Under
for the
POSH
company
there
in
is a
particular.
provision, there is
And
a,
how much
section
you
26.
believe if they had been more proactive, this could have been stopped and nipped in the bud?
How proactively? Uday, at this juncture, we have to set an example for such organizations. And for that, there is a section 26 where repeated offenders' license can be cancelled under POSH and fine is there. So I will raise my voice to have the serious fine, heavy fine to be levied, or the license of that particular Nashik office to be cancelled.
Right.
This will set an example.
Okay.
Because they have violated each and every compliance of the POSH Act. Yes. So we have to set an example by setting it right, by setting it very strictly, by dealing it very strictly.
Okay. My thanks to our guests for joining us on this broadcast. We're slipping into a very short break. Much more on the other side.